Oh, and good evening. It's May 8th, 2025, and welcome to another one of our Branches on the Vine with the Bible Project and their The Exodus Way series. The Bible Project, they created this series, and we're just going to discuss some of these videos and these other creative topics that they explore. Because the videos we're going to be discussing, they're just the tip of the iceberg. They're part of a learning series that I highly recommend, and all of them can be found on the Bible Project app. Link to that is in the description. So, welcome this evening as we continue this discussion of the Exodus Way on the Dusty Feet. Our hope with the Dusty Feet is to foster discussion and help build and support communities. If you are not already connected to a community or just want to share and interact, this community has 4 primary ways to interact. 1. DustyFeet.com. That's our primary place to find everything. You are always free to comment. 2. Facebook, at the Dusty Feet. These videos and other videos are also available for comment and discussion. And 3. We have a Discord channel. The invite link is there below. Be vocal, be written, be loving. And 4, and as always, you are welcome to send an email to bob@thedustyfeet.com. These places, they will be moderated, and guidelines will be set to ensure healthy, safe discussion. And as always on the Dusty Feet, this is a place where we can safely explore the endless ways of God and the interconnection of His creation. Belief understandings may be challenged, divine misunderstandings may exist, and traditional teachings might falter as we pursue connection, context, and community with God and each other here in an environment of grace and love. And of course, before we forget, if you find these kinds of podcasts helpful, click that subscribe button. Those reminders, they just help you. But also, if you think that these might be useful to others, that's when you click that like button, because that is the only way that YouTube chooses to share these to more people if they wish. We see patterns in so much of Scripture. We've talked about them many, many times here in the Dusty Feet. I love pattern Scripture. Everything from chiastic to just repetitive patterns to imagery patterns. So we're going to continue our discussion on the Exodus pattern or the Exodus way. Because is this only a pattern that we read about? Or is it something more that we should be aware of so that when we're in the pattern, maybe we'll see where we are. Because maybe this then might cause us to look at this differently. So let's listen again to the video, refresh our minds, and continue our discussion of the Exodus way. This is our episode 2. Enjoy.
The Exodus. You might know this story. Moses confronts Pharaoh, there's all these plagues, and God rescues the Israelites out of Egypt.
Sure, but there's more to it. The way out of slavery is only the first part of a bigger pattern. Next comes the way through the wilderness, and then the way in as they reach the promised land. Together, these 3 parts form a story about the Exodus way.
Okay, let's check it out.
So, first is the way out of slavery.
Right, that's the part everyone knows. Pharaoh is a harsh slave master, grinding the Israelites into the dust of death. So, God sends Moses to confront Pharaoh to let the people go.
And as they leave, they come to what seems like an impossible barrier, a flood of waters that are blocking them in.
This looks like the end of the road.
It does. But the way out of slavery often means going through what looks like death. But actually, God makes it into a path to life.
But they aren't home yet. On the other side of the waters is the wilderness. A harsh and dangerous wasteland.
And that brings us to the second part of the pattern. God leads them on the way through the wilderness. He provides for Israel's needs.
Although, not in the way or timing they would prefer.
Totally. The wilderness is where they have to learn to trust God and to live by His word and daily bread, even when things feel impossible and hopeless.
And so this leaves the way in.
Yes, the way into the promised land, full of goodness, where they can live as free people and spread God's blessing throughout the world.
Okay, I see the 3 parts. The way out, through, and in.
But we're not done yet. When Israel gets into the land, this Exodus pattern begins all over again, like a melody on repeat.
What do you mean?
Well, they constantly find themselves facing new threats of violence and oppression. And to confront these new Pharaoh-like enemies, God raises up new Moses-like leaders to rescue the people and lead them out of slavery and into freedom again. There are also stories of these leaders having their trust in God put to the test in dangerous situations, sometimes in an actual wilderness. And usually, when these crises resolve, God brings about a time of peace and abundance in the land.
So this Exodus pattern of the way out, through, and in, it's woven throughout all of Israel's story.
Yes, but things turn tragic. The oppressors turn out to be not just foreign rulers, but Israel's own kings who exploit their own people. So God allows the biggest Pharaoh-like ruler of all, the king of Babylon, to conquer and enslave them.
And he takes them out of their land. After all of that, they're back where they started.
But even here, Israel's prophets saw the Exodus pattern at work. They announced that there was hope for a new rescuer and a new way out. The prophet Isaiah said that God would come to lead his people on a new highway through the wilderness and bring about a new era of freedom and abundance for Israel and for the whole world.
Now, once Israel gets back into the land, that freedom and abundant blessing never fully happens.
Right. So they still find themselves waiting for a rescuer. And that brings us to the story of Jesus.
Many people following Jesus start to hope that he'll lead them out of their slavery to Rome and out from the corruption of their religious leaders.
But Jesus knows the way out isn't just about freedom from crooked leaders or governments. He taught that humanity is enslaved to a deeper, more sinister Pharaoh that has captured our desires, corrupted our world, and is leading us all to death. Jesus came to free us from that slavery.
How does he do that?
In a surprising way, Jesus walks into the chaotic waters of death itself to make a path for anyone who wants true freedom.
The way out.
Exactly. This is why the first followers of Jesus called their movement the Way. They baptized themselves in the waters as a symbol that they are following Jesus on the way out of slavery to death.
Okay, but in the Exodus pattern, after the way out comes the wilderness.
And that's where we find ourselves today, journeying through a world that can feel dark and hopeless. But Jesus' followers trust that God will lead them through and provide for their needs and be with them through every test.
And the goal of all of this waiting and these tests is the way in, right?
Yes, and this time it's into a cosmic promised land where everything is made new.
Everything made new?
Well, Jesus described it as a cosmic rebirth, or as the reunion of heaven and earth where all relationships are unified in love and joy and peace. This is the ultimate land of promise.
So the Exodus story is about way more than Moses and Israel.
Yes, it is also our story. And Jesus himself, he is the way out, the way through, and the way in.
Our mission at Bible Project is to help people experience the Bible as a unified story that leads to Jesus.
We're able to give away for free everything that we make because of generous people like you all around the world.
You can see our entire video library, check out all of our resources, and join us at BibleProject.com.
So again, if you haven't seen it, what'd you think? And number two, if you have seen it, refresh your minds a little bit. So, in our last episode in this series, we left off with the activity inside this Exodus way, this life in the desert, right? And how we live, react, how we respond to God and respond to others while in the desert. That place was only meant to be for a few days. It just turned into 40 years. I mean, we had that miraculous rescue from enslavement, from captivity, from oppression. As we moved into the next part of this cycle, sacrifice and death were part of that deliverance. And we had release. Then we had pursuit. God again moves to their release to keep their freedom. As we said, this is only seen in hindsight. The only way we can really see these patterns is when we look back. We see that next part of the desert, and we know that those days had turned into years. Daily bread, the manna, God meeting needs. Learning about God, right? Remember, they don't have our look back. They don't know about or have any real experience with this God, much less a loving, caring God, right? In this Exodus way beginning, this is a powerful, commanding, expressive God, yeah? Their knowledge and experience with God is really very minimal. And really, what they have more about is their broken lives as the backdrop. So they will need to learn about and experience this different side of God, the part of God that he expresses himself as, this loving, caring God. And they need to then to live in it. Daily bread, the manna, God meeting needs, learning about God, God provided manna, water, protection, care. What would they do with that? How will this daily bread be part of their lives? Practically, I mean, they tried preparing it in different ways, doing different things. God saying, I'm not sure he ever told them how to prepare it in different ways, yet they did. They weren't admonished for it, right? The different ways to prepare it. It says, you were told to always collect just your portion. You were only to prepare for yours and your family's portions. There was no extra to be gotten, so it was all about what you needed. This, and then how you took it. To be fair, we do this a lot. We understand. Well, I get the grumbling in these people. I mean, we have our own, only in just different ways and different topics. And then we go, well, they all felt this way, right? I don't think they all felt that way. I think the noisy majority more compels me. Folks starting, and then they join the banter. They're just all really very noisy about it. We hear many things. We use them today because we're alive here. It's April 24th, 2025. So we get grumbling. We understand much grumbling. We hear much grumbling now. You know, I've yet to find a single instance where anybody was on the same page with any issue or talked about anything inside or outside of church. Doesn't matter. Pick a topic. It's just those who grumble about fill in the blank. So we know we had grumblers. We know we have things. We know we have noisy people. This is just part of the pattern we see in the desert. I look at us today, even 2,000 years after Jesus, and I see the same pattern. I still see us wanting a king. We still want land or kingdom. That's that purple zone. We still expect the Messiah. Back in the time they were expecting, I guess you say now we just expect that today. But I think it would be different for us if the Messiah returned and didn't act as we expected. I mean, we saw in the story, at least the way we think we understand it when we read it, that they had problems not liking how the Messiah was handling the being set free. I wonder how we're going to take it. Just remember that slavery, that is enslaved, that's that orangey salmon color, right? I guess depending on the color, you could say they were either red, yellow, and blue, or really more like salmon, guava, and violet. Yeah. So going from the salmon, that slavery section, to freedom, I think we just missed the testing that still needed to happen in that guava, right? In the desert section. Days or years or 2,000 plus years to get to that purple kingdom section. There has to be. So we want to get to that purple, that violet section now, right? We see how we live in the kingdom of daily life, that expectation given in the desert. Yet they lived there for 40 years. So can we live this today? Can we experience those moments, those violet moments? Violet, not violent. I think very much so. And when you look at the story of the Exodus, you go through it, I think you'll see those moments. You can see the moments. You can see that pattern. Again, we've discussed this cyclic pattern in our Outside the Class series since Joshua. As we've gone through Judges and now Samuel, we're going to see this repetitive pattern. Not only in the people's behavior, but oddly enough, some of it in the leadership, how they're acting as, say, the judges acted. We're getting ready to discuss the kings, how they're going to act. Because I think this is a great point to discuss. I love this pattern. I love the patterns we're seeing in it. In this, there's a smaller picture inside a larger one. Because each of us individually, one-on-one, vis-a-vis, is under oppression, a captivity of sorts, and say we didn't get the meaning of life. We have all kinds of challenges in life. Then we think we begin to understand God. Part of my part in this is to help us delineate something from just any nebulous God thing, right? So I would say Yod-He Vav-He is God the Father. His Son, Messiah, Jesus, right? Often you hear me refer to him as Yeshua, Messiah Yeshua. It's just a Jewish name, but it is his Hebrew name. But as we get to do that, we have those times where we're like, okay, we're going to follow this God. Just like how they got through the Exodus, they get set free. Then they get to the mountain, the place to meet the God they will get to know, maybe understand better, choose to follow. It's always been a choice to follow, grumbling or not. So here's our mountain moment, right? So you have to live with that life afterwards. It isn't about us following this God of the mountain, sitting along a hillside as the Messiah imparts his sermon wisdom, see Sinai for details, and then going along our merry ways, right, in our own choices. We know what that looks like. They have the golden calf event that happens while the instructions are being passed down to Moses. So we get that exit, right? Maybe it's not about the way we want to do it. Because that is part of the Exodus story. That's the pattern within the pattern, those inner stories. It's part of what we need to discuss in this greater element. Okay, so now we're going to get to the land. So how are we going to behave? How will we look like the kingdom of God, the people they were supposed to be? Like I said before, this is a borderless kingdom. So it's not about sitting in any country and going, I'm this, fill in the nationality of choice. It's these followers of Yod-He Vav-He, the father of our Messiah King, what they're supposed to look like. So God and his Son can recognize them, right? Because I know it isn't very clear in life, right? Because we're all over the place on this one, right? Because many people claim to be followers of God. And I'm looking back. I'm sitting back. I get it. Because those who are not followers of God look back. They look out over the place and they say, I don't understand and I don't see it. We have this all going around. The why should I do this? We all aren't on the same page. So I understand them even more. I honestly do. We're in the desert, going to the land in those 40 years. And within that, there are so many opportunities to learn and to embrace. Because in those 40 years, they're also like a dry run because, they get the tabernacle there. So They have the tabernacle. They have instructions, right? Those guidelines, laws, community behavior identifiers. And because we know these instructions are designed for when you get there, I mean, as well as where they're at in the moment, because we have those when you talk about when you're in a city, do this and how you do that. So it's always not about the tent that they were in, they were packing. They knew this was going to develop and to be part of where they live in their daily lives. So again, part of what Mom and I were talking about, thank you, Mom, for having these chats, it was Paul's description of this time that we're in, right? He's talking about people coming into the community, coming into this group, this wandering group in the desert, trying to find their way. And there's behavior that they, right, do that's not what you want in your community. So we go back to that instruction set and say, hey, that we're not going to have that here. And that with Paul, there were, he makes a point to stand out the big four that he talks about, right? Because you get that, that, say, drinking blood, right? You can't have that as part of what we have in our communities. Wherever they are, in the city that they're in, whether it's Colossia or Galatia or Ephesus, each letter in the Bible's books after the scroll of Acts is either to a person or to a community. It's to an existing community, an existing Hebrew Jewish community. These are survivors of the diaspora scattering, those Jesus wanted to call out to, bring back to the mountain. Let them know that the Messiah had come, God's kingdom come, His will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And in that fun part, he says, hey, as we start to get into this community, yes, you need to learn. You must learn, then grow, then experience, right? To be what the Father has always expected. And now the Son expects. One could say that the Son ups the game because back then you had things where you were part of doing what you do, and he said, I'm going to look a little closer. I'm going to look at your heart. Because you can get away with all kinds of stuff. But when it comes times to look at the heart, well, God will take a peek and He will deal with it. When it comes to those hearts, everybody's hearts are not escaping that heart reveal. This is a very important pattern. I agree with the folks at the Bible Project. It's one that, if we reflect on, examine, learn about, learn from, maybe we can experience a bit more of that violet kingdom here on earth today in our communities. So, thanks for joining us again tonight as we continue this series on the Exodus Way from the Bible Project on the Dusty Feet.